My last blog entry set the stage for building this knife box. It was presented at the January Williamsburg Conference, Working Wood in the 18th Century. This video is second in the series, covering the initial steps in making the SketchUp model. Here I've imported an image. It could well have been a photograph of the box. On this image, I've used line and arc tools to trace over the shape of the box components. Here is the side component. Here is the base component, a little piece of molding on the end of the base. And over here is the end piece. Now I'll complete tracing the shape of the center handle component. First, by adding a straight line here, then add an arc at this location. You can see the tangency to the small line segment by the cyan color of the arc. That completes the half shape, and I'll make it a group. I'm ready to use these shapes to begin the 3D modeling. I'll copy the side, the base, and the end pieces and move them over to the right. During the tracing process, I used a style that made the lines show up in a red color, therefore more easy to see on the photograph. I'll now change that back to the default black color. Now to connect the end to the side and the base. I used a camera in parallel mode on the scanning process and change it back to perspective. I need to rotate the end 90 degrees and connect at its proper position. These shapes are a projection looking straight on in camera view. So these are not the actual width or height of the components when splayed out at their angle. A simple rotation of these shapes would result in a box that would not be at correct height. So I'm going to do a procedure that finds the actual size of the components, using push-pull to create an overlap between the two components. This exposes an important intersection that is the real outside corner of the box here. I'm going to draw a line at this intersection. Double-clicking the tape measure on this line creates an extended guideline that I'll use, and then create a parallel guideline along the green axis. I'll draw a plane or a face using these guidelines. And make that new shape a group. edit the group, the face, Select all, right-click, and pick Intersect Faces with Model. Now we can delete extra lines and faces, exposing the real shape and size of the end. Repeat this process for the box side. First with the parallel guideline, this time on the red axis. Create the face or the plane that's on the splay, on the real splay of the box. Make it a component, or rather a group. Edit the group. Select all and pick Intersect with the model. And then use the eraser tool and delete all the extra parts, exposing the real shape of the box side. Here we are. There's still some extra pieces here. Let me get rid of these extra lines. Some extra edges over here. Let me click. Oh, undo that and edit the group and delete these extra edges and faces. At this point, I want to make these groups actually the components, the end component and the side component. To do that, I'll click on the group and explode, and right-click on it and make the component, calling it an end. Again, clicking on the group, executing explode, making the component and calling this the side. These pieces are 5/16 thick, so I can use the push-pull tool to create the actual thickness of the components. And I can select all and smooth out and soften the edges to get rid of some of those extra lines. There's still a few lines left. I'll take care of that later with the eraser tool and holding down the control key. Let's add this thickness to the end piece, and again select all and right click and pick Soften Smooth Edges. There is an issue here that at the corner, the two components do not entirely overlap, and this will be a problem in the final assembly of dovetails on these corner joints. I need to extend the length of each component to make sure we have a full overlap at the corners. I'll copy out the end, Push-pull will not work here because of the compound angles. So I'll select the face of the end and its bounding edges, then use the move tool to pull out an extra 1/16 of length on the green axis. Okay. And I need to do that also for the side component to make sure it extends out beyond the face, the outer face of the end component. So again, make a copy of the side, move it out in front, edit the component, select the face of the end, and use the move tool to extend out on the red axis 1/16 inch. This extra length will be required in the shop in milling the blank shapes. I'll continue to build this model in subsequent videos. I've not explored alternate ways in creating the same result. I'm sure there are alternates, and some may be easier. However, this method works and produces quality components.